When most people hear the words occult or secret society, they might think of a satanic elite secretly pulling the strings of global power. It's easy to look at occult secrecy and think there must be something nefarious going on. But if you look closely, you might notice a completely different story. And I'm sure many of you are aware of the long history of persecution against anyone who didn't fall in line with the church, and how that drove occultists and many others underground. But that's not what I want to talk about. Behind all the symbols, obscure jargon, spooky rituals, and secret oaths, there's another reason for the secrecy that you might not have thought about. Let me ask you a question. What if I gave you the answer to a difficult puzzle? Would you get the satisfaction of solving it? If I told you the ending to the movie you've been dying to see, did I give you a gift, or did I rob you of an experience? But also, would the ending really even make sense without having the context of the rest of the movie that led up to it? There are moments that every serious seeker remembers, when a symbol finally makes sense, when a ritual clicks, or when a text reveals something you somehow missed a dozen times before. Moments of deep understanding like that can only occur under certain conditions. And those conditions do not include simply reading a statement in a book one time or hearing someone say something on YouTube. Esoteric information isn't necessarily hidden to keep knowledge from outsiders. It's hidden and obscured as part of the process of initiation through which real understanding can develop. Because information can be transmitted, but understanding can't. As Carl Jung said, the least of things with a meaning is worth more in life than the greatest of things without it. We can overload ourselves with as much information as we want. We can search for all the secrets and all the answers. But where does the meaning of that information come from? Where does the real understanding come from? The very first line of the Tao Te Ching says, "The Tao that can be told is not the true Tao. The name that can be named is not the true name." The moment we try to articulate pure truth or an experience, it gets filtered through our words, which inherently distances us from the direct experience of knowing. An experience can't truly be described or explained. It can only be experienced. Truth can't be told. It has to be witnessed. And this is one of the reasons we see so much symbolism within the mystery traditions. Human language is a product of the physical, analytical mind. Because ordinary language operates on human logic, it's inherently limited, localized, and prone to material distortion. But symbols are pre-linguistic and archetypal. They speak directly to the intuition and the deeper layers of consciousness, rather than just the logical intellect. A spoken fact gives you a definitive, closed endpoint, but a symbol contains layers of meaning that expand the further your consciousness develops. Our ancient ancestors knew that the ultimate truths of the universe can't be properly expressed through ordinary spoken or written language, so they preserved these truths in glyphs, symbols, and geometrical figures, and encoded them in stories using allegory and enigma, or paradox. These encoded truths and their symbols and stories became the language we use to communicate with the universe through practices like ritual and phenomena like synchronicities. Much like a language, the more you study and practice the esoteric arts, the more you'll pick up on nuances and you'll understand everything more thoroughly in general. You see, the role of the mystery traditions and initiatory groups is to pass the understanding and the meaning of these symbols, stories, and truths to new generations. And not just the information itself, but the ability to understand it and give it meaning. The secrets are hidden behind obscurity and elaborate initiation processes instead of just being handed to you, because the goal is to transform seekers through the process of seeking. And this is done in a way that allows the nuances of a symbol or a teaching or whatever to gradually unravel and eventually reveal itself only when the seeker is actually ready. Once they've developed the eyes to see and the ears to hear. A lot of times, the secret isn't even the point. The person you become while developing the ability to truly understand the secrets is the real point. And this is what the eyes to see and ears to hear statement is about. Certain things only make sense if you already have an understanding of certain other things. So, in order to understand the larger truth, you first have to understand all the smaller ones that lead up to that larger one. You're not going to learn Schrodinger's equation without first learning the math and physics that lead up to it. We walk before we run, or we fall flat on our faces. But in the process of learning how to run, we learn how to run. The practical work, the studying, the earnest pursuit of the great work, those are what get us ready. They're what tune us to the right frequencies so we can receive the signal. The tuning process is where the meaning of things is made, and without it, any message you receive, it's just going to be noise. Study transmits information, but practice transmits meaning. But keep in mind that meaning is not a thing that exists hidden somewhere in the universe waiting to be discovered. It's a blank canvas that we actively paint. And the point of the mysteries and the great work, at least in this context, is to give you the tools and show you how to use them so you can paint your own masterpiece. Many people seem to think that the graded structures of initiatory orders like the Golden Dawn, AA, or even the Freemasons were created to lock away certain truths so only a lucky few can have access to them. It was quite the opposite, actually. That structure was created to give people access to the mysteries and the secrets, but to provide a specific structured process of preparing you to receive those truths and experiences so you can participate in them, cope with them, provide meaning to them, and truly understand them. As part of this process, you also learn how to create the conditions from which these profound experiences and truths spring from. The system of grades in these initiatory groups is also structured in a way that each grade prepares you for the knowledge and practices and experiences you receive in the next grade. Specific details and practices are restricted to specific grades so that seekers in a specific grade can focus on the studies and practices of their current grade, and so they don't get overwhelmed with too much information or stretch too thin trying to do too many things. And this develops a more thorough and intimate understanding of the work instead of a cursory, superficial understanding that comes from taking on too much at once or working through the material too quickly. The element of ontological shock is also very real with this work, and there are simply some experiences that most of us have to gradually acclimate to. So the grade process, the initiation process, gradually working through the material serves that acclimation process as well. And there are many things that I could say that would sound crazy to you unless you've already had experiences that provide greater context to the crazy thing I just said. For example, I know that a lot of people follow the psychological model and believe that the entities we work with are just aspects of our own deep psychology. So it might sound crazy to some of you to hear me say that these entities we work with don't just exist in our heads. They exist independent from us in some way, and they can even materialize in our objective world. You see? I'm sure that makes me sound like a wingnut to some of you. But to others, especially those who have had similar experiences, it makes perfect sense. And to those of you who cringed when you heard me say that the entities are real, you are a perfect example of the point I've been trying to make. The objective reality of the spirits is one of those things that, especially in modern times, often gets veiled by esoteric jargon and hushed tones because it can truly only be experienced. But I promise you, if you stick to it, and especially work on evocation and theurgy, you'll eventually see for yourself. The important thing to remember is that the mystery traditions don't exist to lead you blindly by the hand to some ultimate destination where the coveted truth is revealed. They exist to provide you with the tools and the methods that help you get there. They help you develop the eyes to see and the ears to hear, so that when you do encounter those coveted truths and those profound experiences, you can actually recognize them for what they are.